Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today we're back from our little break. We had a little break. There was too much stuff going on before. There was Celebration, there was Andor. We didn't take a break, so we took a break. And when you come back, you come back big. You got to come back royal. So you got to bring some royalty into the mix. I don't know how many times he's been on, but a lot of times, but never enough times. So bring him in, the king of all pods, King Tom. How's it going, buddy?
You're too kind. I'm almost too flattered to talk, but thank you so much for having me. I always have a lot of fun talking with you. Yeah, I hate to be like, oh yeah, but no, I've lost count of how many times I've been on the show. And I just always have fun.
That's a lot. So it's for probably a like obviously the local guests. Your Matt Moles, your Catherine Neens, your Turbos, who are in the same time zone.
And those are all great listens too.
Yeah, but as far as international guests, there's like ones that have to require a little bit of planning. I think you'd be up there with the most frequent guests, I think.
Oh, I consider myself lucky, so thank you.
Well, it's always a pleasure. Yeah, it's been like... this podcast isn't amazing with schedules. It's okay, but, we miss stuff, but... There had been a run for leading up to Celebration and then Andor, where it was like there was a lot of stuff that sort of came out.
Yeah, and there was Skeleton Crew right before.
Yeah, that's right.
The Celebration lead up. Yeah.
So it was a lot of content. It was that I remember looking at the thing going, "Oh, Andor comes out right after Celebration." Like the day after we landed, or it might have been the day we landed. Andor came out and we rolled right into it, and it was extra funny because I don't know if I mentioned on this because when we got back from Celebration on our flight home from Japan the next day, our flight got delayed quite badly, so we didn't end up leaving until about 3 a.m, which is great with little kids. Okay, because little kids love hanging around in airports for 6 or 7 hours when there's nothing going on as well. So I remember we got back and it was just, you're already in that thing of like you've done the big flight and the big holiday, and then it was like, all right, time for Andor.
Yeah. When season 1 premiered, my wife and I were in Mexico on vacation.
Yeah.
And it premiered overnight the morning of our last day there. And I can never sleep when I'm traveling leaving someplace. Like that last night, I never sleep. And it was kind of funny because I woke up at like 4 a.m. and the 3 episodes of Andor were out. And there was a Weezer album coming out that week.
What a week for King Tom.
Overnight. So it was. So I actually, I watched all 3 episodes of Andor, then listened to the Weezer album, and it wasn't even 6 o'clock in the morning yet.
How do I top that? That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the only saving grace on that was because we got to watch the first episode at Celebration. So I'd already seen it, so there wasn't as much sort of like pressure to, I could watch it once and roll into the record and it was okay, and just sort of, do a quick refresh on it and it was all right, and to do the review and stuff. But it was... Actually, no, that's not true because they all came out. No, it was because there was one less I had to watch. That's what it was.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to ask if you watched the whole thing again.
No, I did. No, I did. Sorry, I knew there was some reason that seeing it early was helpful. It was because I didn't have to start and go all 3. I got back and only had those sort of 2 to get through. But how'd you go with that release schedule? Like looking back,
I was fine with it. I watched it. I sat down 9 o'clock. That's when it premiered here, and watched all 3. Sometimes it would get I would hear my phone buzz, and I would wait till in between episodes while the credit music was playing. And most of the times it was a Star Wars friend.
Yep.
Had a few discussions with Hawes during some of that. And yeah, it was very. I would watch them all the way through. And then my wife and we watched it. We ended it last Friday.
Oh, okay.
So we would do one or two episodes a night. And
Yep.
my wife is a huge fan of the Bourne series.
Yeah, right.
So knowing that
Was that how you sold
Tony
it?
Gilroy, well, she had seen Rogue One and she had watched season 1, so she was fine watching it. But I didn't find out till we recorded the Sith list last night. Tony Gilroy actually wrote another one of my wife's favorite movies, The Cutting Edge.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Which it's a mid 90s, I think it came out, I want to say 94 rom-com about competitive ice skaters.
You got to start somewhere.
And it is it's very American because these people are trying out for the Olympics, or they're in the world competitor or whatever. I don't know ice skating. And it's got Terry O'Quinn, DB Sweeney, and Moira Kelly.
So Lost Terry Quinn? No.
Well, yes, Lost Terry O'Quinn. He's this, rich industrialist with a mustache.
Oh.
Moira Kelly is his spoiled daughter who wants to be a the world champion ice skater, and DB Sweeney is a hockey player who gets in an accident, can't play hockey anymore, but he still wants to skate, and he's hired to be a figure skater.
Oh man, there's a lot going on. I'll bet, like, I haven't looked, but I'll bet there's some amazing photos of Tony Gilroy, 90s Tony Gilroy. He's probably got like a bit of a coif hair and maybe a necklace and probably some interesting 90s fashion going on somewhere. Maybe some sideburns or a soul patch or something.
I could see him with a soul patch in the 90s, but there's no political intrigue. There are no up close fisticuffs. There's no people dying in the movie.
So we missed the figure skating arc of Andor. If he just put in a well, that's an interesting choice that he put it's like the Jack Black episode in Mando. There's one outlier where there's a whole sort of figure skating subplot and nobody could figure it out, and you're like, well, it's back to his roots.
I bet it's in the deleted scenes.
Yeah.
Cinta and Vel figure skating on, Mon Calamari or something.
Oh, man. That's it. Yeah. It's funny like that because I guess you kind of go, oh, yeah, he's a guy, super, this is his thing. And then you go, oh, no, if you go back further enough, there's always a few sort of things you've got to do to, whether it was his original idea, it was like, oh, he's a good writer, let's just give him this premise and see if he can do something with it. And
yeah. I would love, because he's been doing a lot of interviews even after Andor ended. I think
they're really like basking in it, aren't they? Really?
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. But I would love to see someone say, hey, one of your first movies was Cutting Edge. How do you relate it to, how do you go from Cutting Edge to Andor?
Would that be over? Would Andor be done? I'm just trying to, if it was coming out weekly, would it be finished by now? Or where would we be?
No, because we got there were 4 arcs.
Yep, so 12
episodes. So there would be 12 weeks instead of 4. And what it ended?
Would it be about a month?
2 weeks ago?
No, longer than that. It'd be more than 2 weeks ago, wouldn't it? No, it'd be about a month.
It
if it's
ended.
Finished.
Really? Okay, maybe it's.
I don't
been
know.
A month.
This is where we need Catherine.
Time has been
right now. Catherine's yelling at her phone right now. But
the last few months have been quite the year. So.
Yeah, exactly. There's been a bit going on, but it's just interesting that because we sort of talked about this release schedule, going, I think there was they wanted to hit hard, hit fast, hit hard, make an impact. Mm. They were worried about the Star Wars drop-off that a few shows have had, that it's been hard to sustain some audiences for longer periods of time. And I think in this case, they hit hard, they hit big. It was all anybody was talking about, it triumphantly. Yeah. It was a triumph, and now, like you said, they're sort of on this basking in it tour. Like I saw that there was some of the people that we know, content creators, went to Lucasfilm and they're still talking about it. I'm like, man, they're really like...
Yeah, the Hollywood Reporter had an article out earlier this week that the viewership numbers, I think, have actually gone up in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So it's had more... The minutes have increased over what it
the word
was.
of mouth has kind of kicked in, and yeah.
Yeah, if I was reading that article correctly, it's
I think
possible
so.
I have it all wrong.
I got too much figure skating going on in my head right now. I can only retain two or three things. But yeah, it's funny because you kind of go, where do you go from here? Like, I mean, that was the thing that we sort of brought up a lot. Like, where does Star Wars go from here? And obviously, we're doing Ahsoka season 2 is where it's going from here. But we kind of know what we're going to get with that. I think we'll get more of the
yeah. But I think it's a good overall question because, like you said, we know we're getting Ahsoka, but in terms of live action streaming, and don't get me wrong, I'm excited about the Vision stuff, and I'll watch them all. But live action streaming, we don't know what their plans are because
we'll never see this again. They'll never drop $600 million on a streaming TV show. I think that's it. Like I think it's been pretty clear that the streaming model needs adjustment anyway. And the fact that this thing was so good and so well received and seems to be being watched is probably very fortunate because of what it cost. And they can kind of bask in it and go, okay, well. And I think that was sort of the way it was sold. It was like, hey, look, you've got a really prestigious thing in this season 1. It's kind of a critical darling. It sort of silences a lot of naysayers about the franchise, about what it can and what it can't be. It can be prestigious. So let's go all in on the next one and do that. But I don't think that means that they just go, well, next time we're going to do it all again. I think they're going to go, man, we went in and we really got away with it. We really made a statement, but.
Yeah, I think if they do anything else, it's going to be a lot cheaper. And because really Marvel also, they have a few shows ready to go, but there's not much of a long-term commitment. And I think, like you said, they're rethinking what they're doing with streaming. And Andor, there were a few scenes that I thought in the Senate when Mon Mothma was giving her speech, the background did look a little CGI fakey.
Yep.
But I thought the show just looked amazing, and I really enjoyed The Acolyte, but it did not look like it cost as much as they said it cost.
Yeah.
Where Andor, it did.
Do you wonder would it have mattered if it had been shot on the volume? Really? Would it have, given the quality of the perform, maybe you can't get the quality performances. I mean, the writing is the writing. Could you, if it did look a little bit ropier and a little bit more volumey, would it be enough? Would it be like a 3%, like, whatever, but it's still amazing and you could have done that? Would you take 3 or 4 seasons of Andor shot on a volume that doesn't look quite as good for the same money? I mean, I know there was a time commitment and everything like that, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Was that because you remember like when The Mandalorian first came out, and they were kind of like, "Oh, we found a way to make Star Wars TV. This is gonna be cheap, and we're gonna be able to do anything we want." And you're absolutely right. There was such a huge push at the beginning about the volume and how it was the new thing, and it was like George Lucas's dream come true, because he had, throughout his career, he's always been looking for a way to make things cheaper and easier to make. Yep.
And
cheaper,
because
easier to make. Faster, more intense, cheaper.
Yeah, faster, more intense, cheaper, easier to make. Yep. I think because the volume made it a lot easier than blue screen, because you're able to do the pre-visualization and give the actors something around them
to
react to. So yeah, it just, I don't mind it. I haven't minded the way it's been used in The Mandalorian or The Book of Boba Fett or other shows. I'm not one of those people, like, even though I said, there were some Senate scenes that looked a little bit weird, I don't mind that. I don't expect everything to look,
That was the thing about the Acolyte, and a lot of that was practically done and it cost a bomb, and it seems like it won't be coming back. Who knows what will happen? But it's kind of going, well, just shoot it on the volume. Like, who cares if it looks a little bit ropey? Sort of. Do you know the show Blackadder? Have you ever seen the show Blackadder? It's a British comedy show.
Yeah, yes,
with Rowan Atkinson.
a long time ago.
The funny thing, that show, the first season of that show, I think we're talking about in the 80s here, whenever it was done, late 80s, early 90s. Really expensive, really high production values. It's all like medieval. They're in castles. They're in like all this, they've made this huge kind of, thing. And it was a success, but not a huge success. And they were kind of debating whether they were going to do another one or not. And well, basically what happened is they said, well, we'll rejig it. And it takes place in each series in a different time period, which helps. And they go, okay, second season is going to be in 4 rooms. And they basically just built 4 sets. And the whole show is... That season is better than the first season. The writing's better and it's funnier. But it's literally just like the same 4 sets all the time. It's just like... what?
Right.
And you kind of go, well, if the writing's better and the performances are better, does it really matter? Maybe Star Wars... I know Star Wars has to have some Star Wars-iness, but you probably can't shoot in 4 rooms.
No. But I think... And I don't mean to insult this franchise in any way, and I'm not trying to say it's exactly the same, but when you brought up Blackadder, I also thought about 70s and 80s Doctor Who. Because they were able to make it seem otherworldly, but at the same time you would see like there was this one with Tom Baker set on a space station. Sarah Jane and Harry were there. And there was a monster that was covered in like green bubble wrap.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Star Wars has to go to that level, but there's still a love for that.
Yeah, you could.
And those episodes.
It can be low. It could be lower rent, and it won't really. It will.
Right.
And because it's that. I mean, it does have a high production thing, and I kind of. I'm not a huge Star Trek guy, but I know enough of like I've seen all the box sets, and they have things where they used to make like 50 episodes, and some of them were just set in a room where it was just some people talking and blah blah blah. And Star Wars has never really done that. It's sort of its own. It's always kind of like got to be bigger. But yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. Like after this Ahsoka show, do you think they'll just park it and they're just going to pivot to movies again? I think they still want people to pay their Disney Plus every month.
Yeah, and without ads, and I do not want them to add ads to Disney Plus, but having that library is what keeps me subscribed every month.
Yeah,
and yeah, they have to be able to make money off of this, and yeah, I'm sure they'll do the movies in the theaters and then eventually transition them to Disney Plus. But I do think that having something new coming out on a streaming service keeps people interested. And maybe it isn't the one show a quarter that it was looking like we were going to get before COVID hit, because I think it might have been Kathleen Kennedy said that was the plan. There was an interview right after Rise of Skywalker before COVID. They wanted to ramp up where they were doing one show, either animated or live action per quarter. And I wouldn't ask for that because I know that can be expensive.
Yep.
But if you did one or two animated shows a year and one live action show a year, I think that could do a lot of goodwill for the franchise.
Well, it's the I think it's always like, what's the balance? What's the minimum that we can put out? We'll stop somebody from disconnecting their thing. Like you were talking about the the library where you kind of go, well, if I want to watch Star Wars, I can just flick it over, even though I've literally got 4 sets of Star Wars on my shelf. And I still I don't buy any new physical media, very rarely, but certainly if I go, we've got like a secondhand market thing we go to a lot, and there's always people offloading Blu-rays and whatever. And if I go, I bought the Casino and The Exorcist for $2 each on Blu-ray the other night. I'm like, well, that's good to have because one day I might want to watch that, and I'll just put it there. And who knows, I haven't thrown my CDs out or anything like that. But one day maybe we'll go, let's just turn Disney off for a few months, and if we need to watch Star Wars, we can go over there or get it from somewhere else if we need to. So there's always that sort of pivot point and stuff. But yeah, we'll see. It was noticeable at Celebration Japan that there wasn't sort of like there was the Andor panel and it was like, here it is. And then there was the Ahsoka panel and it was like, here it's coming. But that was, it wasn't There was nothing on the Acolyte. There was not. Well, they did the Mandalorian Grogu. I mean, even that's kind of weird. The Mandalorian Grogu movie. And what does that mean? Like, I know that they don't want to spoil what happens in the movie, I suppose, where they're not going to say, well, season 4 of The Mandalorian is coming, or whether they're going, well, we're going to pivot to movie adventures because we can make sweet coin off there. It'll cost slightly more to make when we get box office return. But
yeah, because at one point, wasn't there going to be a Filoni-directed movie tying in The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and Skeleton Crew and all these other things?
Coming. I assume that's still a thing, but I don't know. Like, it's all that thing about like how long do you stretch this out for? What's the end point? Timeline wise, I guess they're only, what was a Mandalorian originally? 5 years post Return of the Jedi. They can't be more than 2 years into that story. It's not like they've butted up to Force Awakens all of a sudden. They've got plenty of runway. I don't know. Like, I just sort of thought they'll just keep milking it as long as they can.
Yeah,
but it's just weird that
are they gonna stick to that era, or would they go back to High Republic stuff? Or there is a number of places they could go. They just have to take the chance, and say this is the direction we're going. And I think most fans would be smart enough to know things take place in different timelines. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the post episode 3, timeline to New Hope is pretty crowded now. Like we've filled a lot. There's not a lot of wriggle room in there now. I guess the Lando show, if they ever make it, will be in there.
Oh yeah.
But with Clone Wars, I guess Clone Wars doesn't count, but Bad Batch, I guess the Maul one is going to be that too, though, isn't it? So
I think so. Yeah, Kenobi,
Solo, Andor, Rogue One.
So, back when Tales of the Underworld came out, someone had a question, what is the next Tales series you want to see? And my response was something like Tales of any time period except between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. Because like you said, it's getting crowded.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a lot of wriggle room, isn't there? And it was weird because it used to be, back in the old EU days, it was all post Return of the Jedi. It was all that, they populated that story until effectively the heroes aged out, and then I lost interest. By the time Luke got to 50 or whatever it was, I was just like, I don't even know who these characters, who their kids are. I don't really,
Yeah, it got very confusing and very contradictory, and Luke fell in love with a spaceship, and I just
it always comes back to Luke falling in love with the spaceship.
It always comes back to that.
Well, Hamill said he was out. Like Hamill was in the press recently going,
probably because he knew they were going to put him with the spaceship if they did any more Luke
coming
stories.
Back. Yeah, it's an interesting. I guess we've always just taken Hamill for granted. That I mean, I know I'm sure I've no doubt in my mind that he'll turn up at Celebration LA for the 50th and he'll wave and he'll do all that stuff and be happy to be there and things. But let the man rest. I mean, we always kind of gave Harrison a pass to not be involved because it was Harrison Ford, but Hamill we've always kind of expected would turn up.
Well, they have his voice, and with what they did with the Mandalorian, and I'm not and Book of Boba Fett, and I'm not saying they should do this, but don't they have the rights to use CGI Luke now?
Probably. I'm sure there's probably a deal in place that they've gone. Since it seems like they don't want to recast, that they just want to face swap,
right?
And use it. But I guess I don't know. Like, I suppose whatever he wants. If he wants that, I don't think he'd care. I think he'd just be like, recast me. Just recast me. I don't care. Whatever. Get somebody else to do it.
Someone else.
I don't think, honestly, he would care. But if they were just like, hey, Mark, we're going to synthesize your voice. You'll get a check. The Hamill family will receive a check till the end of time, till you're long gone, and we can use your likeness and use. Although he's probably signed away his license is probably long gone.
I'd imagine so.
to a point. Maybe on an
I-
old 70s deal. Maybe the deal's different now.
George was smart. He locked him in. I just want to see how Luke met Ahsoka.
Yeah, they kind of breezed over that, didn't they?
They did. They weren't even. I don't think they were even in the same scene in the Book of Boba Fett, because Din meets Ahsoka, falls asleep on the bench, and then Luke comes out, and Ahsoka leaves.
They exchange something. There is a conversation because she says something about your father, something. But
maybe I have to go back.
But that feels like
that.
that was that whole thing was weird. That whole thing was weird.
Yeah.
I just literally started The Mandalorian again because Sloane, my youngest, who's the most into Star Wars, because we finished the movies, and she was looking for the next thing. And I said, well, we could try The Mandalorian. You know, she knows that Grogu exists. So we watched the first, 2 or 3 episodes, and yeah, she was in. She was down.
That's good.
But we haven't got to all of that Luke Skywalker weirdness or anything like that yet. So we'll see how we go. But yeah, she was still pretty into it. She did get to go to Celebration Japan, which is a pretty big deal for a 6-year-old to
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think she just assumes that I'm going, yeah, I don't think we're going to bring you to LA. I think I think it'll be different.
Yeah, that's a longer flight for you, right? To LA than to Tokyo?
Japan was still, because we we took a cheaper flight and actually stopped over, so it was about the same distance, just because it was a lot, especially for 4 people. Excuse me, just coughing away. But yeah, so it'll be comparable, but it was because Japan was only 3 days, and a lot of the last day I gave up looking after the kids when I probably would have liked to have, especially the last day, you want to sort of see as many people as you can before you leave, sort of thing. But, but it was fun. It was good just to do the experience for them. We did the kids zone, and we did the cosplay was amazing. They got to sort of, and I took them to the swag swap with some stickers, and they got to swap for things and do all of that stuff. So they had a really good time. But as soon as it was like I ran into somebody that I wanted to talk to, and you're standing there for a few minutes talking, they were a bit like, getting a bit restless here, you want to go do, there's a lot of things to see and do, and I can't, you know what celebrations like, you can't just go, I'll just go run down there for a bit and check out some stuff and I'll find you. I was like, I will not find you.
No, you'll never find. Yeah, my kids, they're asking if they can go to LA, and I might take my oldest, maybe, we'll see. But yeah, I think they would have a better time than my youngest would. Yeah. And I'm also, one of my friends from Columbus, he wants, back where I used to live, an hour and a half from here. He and I went out to, back when I lived up there, we went out to Celebration Indianapolis in 2005.
Ooh, back in the old days.
Is that we didn't have the community or anything back then, so I didn't know anybody, and we just went out. We left at like 4 a.m. On the Saturday.
Yep. And
we ended up kind of, people waited overnight to see the George Lucas panel, and we walked across the street. A guard opened a door, ushered us in, and
that's right.
We ended up in the George Lucas panel. But we were there for the day, and we had a lot of fun. And he doesn't follow podcasts, but he really wants to go to LA too. And I'm like, great, but just so you know,
everybody wants to go to LA.
Yeah,
it's gonna be,
but also like
it's gonna be big.
I know people there, so
yeah. I won't just be sort of hanging. Yeah, it's gonna be a big one. I mean, they've missed a few American ones. It's the 50th. It's I mean, it was, we got tickets pretty easily to the Japan one. We all logged in, got our tickets and stuff, and then it was there were definitely tickets floating around at the end because it was so hard to offload them. There was no system to offload the tickets. It was basically, if you've got it, you've got it, and if you want, even if you found somebody who wants it, you've kind of be there to give them the pass. I think it was tricky just to even offload the QR code and get people to. to sort of offload them and stuff. I know Sean Hoffman had a couple of passes at the end, and Matt Mole obviously couldn't make it in the end, so we had a spare pass. We had his pass at the end that my partner Kat just used to walk in and help collect the kids. She just walked in for the last couple of hours and was going, oh, okay, so this is what goes on here, and was like the live stage with the closing ceremony and all this sort of stuff. And but it was quite funny because when they said LA, I'm like, all right, well, we're off to LA, and I might take her. She probably won't want to come to Celebration, but she'd be happy to kick around LA, I'm sure, if we can offload the kids.
Yeah, that was with when we were in Anaheim, and that was my first time in California. I pretty much just stuck to Disneyland, the convention, or Raj's house.
Yeah.
And so this time, I'm hoping. I hope I could take a little bit more time and actually do some things in LA.
Well, I didn't go at all. I was the same. Some of the guys went to LA for the day to do some record shopping and stuff, but we just hung around Disneyland, because we've never been to Disneyland before. Let's do Disneyland, right, and do all this sort of stuff. So we were probably similar. We were in the house that we were. We weren't too far for the convention. I'm not sure. I haven't even thought about accommodation or any. It'll all get worked out. But I just love the idea that there's a good chance that there'll be, we've had good little crews, London and Japan. We had great crews, but it was a very different, it was a smaller core crew of people, which, can be good organizing stuff and keeping track of people and stuff. But I like the idea that there could be 50 people, 60 people that have all congregated and handing out 100 beanies or something, doing an order of 100 beanies and just sort of, and just handing them out. And it sounds quite appealing that they're just, and I feel like LA is quite good for that. Japan really struggled with post-celebration venues, where to go, what to do. There wasn't an obvious, everybody just go here afterwards. It was a very scattershot sort of thing that sort of made it trickier to socialize afterwards. I don't think LA will have that problem. And because there's locals, they'll all just go, well, we're all going to the brewery that's near the convention, or we're going here, or it'll be a lot easier to sort of to do that. And because there'll be such big groups of people as well. I guess the only problem will be if you kind of got these splinter groups of like 50 are going here and 10 people are going here, and I don't know, good problems to have.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll, coordinate and plan early enough to smooth out anything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a long way away, but they always tend to sneak up. And I guess, like I said, you haven't been to the last few, so would have been.
Yeah,
Anaheim would have been the last one you went to.
Yeah, I've had some things going on.
Yeah, exactly. So. Just like Star Wars conventions, right. Believe it or not, had to take a backward seat to some other stuff that's going on. Believe it or not, yeah. And it'll just be great to hang, really, but. I don't know.
That's the best part of it.
Yeah, but for sure.
I like seeing this stuff and watching the trailers and clips and things like that, but it's always the people.
Yeah.
At Celebration.
And it's always funny because I'm always on those, like I get on the Celebration Facebook group thing, leading up just to have it, and and it's always the same complaints as it's going on, and the lines and the crowd and blah blah blah, and it just completely washes over me because I'm just kind of, the care factor is so small for that. I'm like, it's always busy first day. There's always a crowd.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. Well, I didn't get in that panel. Oh well, whatever. I'll do this. It just sort of washes over you, by the time you get to the end. But yeah, it'll be a different. Like there'll be 2 Star Wars movies out by then. When does Mando Grogu's next year? Is that Starfighter
Mando Grogu's next year, and then I think this is a month or so before Starfighter.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the move. Yeah. I don't think you want to have it. You probably don't want it to come out after that or before that,
right?
And you probably don't want the convention right as it comes out, because people will want to watch the movie.
Yeah.
And so has there been a celebration that close to a movie release before? I'm just trying to think. Did the summer ones? I guess the prequels probably would have been.
The prequel ones were all like the month before. The one in Indianapolis, that was in late April, and Revenge of the Sith opened, I think, May 19th.
Okay, so that was very close.
It was 3 or 4 weeks before, and it's just amazing to me looking back now. because it was very different where the George Lucas panel was, I don't think there was any video of it at all. Or not video of it, but there weren't any videos shown. I think there were still pictures up on the big screen, but they didn't have any trailers or anything. Later in the day, Rick McCallum did a presentation. And
get Rick McCallum back for the 50th.
Yeah, there was no bigger cheerleader for Star Wars than Rick McCallum. And as part of his panel, he gave like a little speech, and as part of his panel, they played like a 3-minute montage of clips. No, I don't think there was any lines, but it was all just video with, I think it was like the Backdraft soundtrack.
Oh, right.
And
which is weird because like people know what Star Wars music is. Like, you'd just put generic Star Wars music in.
Pretty well, yeah. I think I remember someone in the panel said, "Oh, this sounds like Backdraft" or something like that. Like, we didn't think, and I think they might have said, "Oh, this isn't John Williams stuff," just because it's not. It's
he's still scoring.
We haven't added it to the movie.
Yeah.
But they didn't like the scenes they showed. They showed a pretty healthy amount from throughout the movie.
Okay.
And I don't know that there were that many secrets left at that point.
I guess that's pre-video phones as well too. So
yeah, and they didn't. I don't think they've ever released it officially, but yeah, they played it, and then someone, he asked for questions, and someone asked if he could play it again, and so they wrote it again.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was really cool, but like, yeah, that was maybe 3 or 4 weeks before the movie came out, and it's not like they were spoiler phobic.
Yeah, interesting.
In that, but yeah, you're right. By the
time that Starfighter movie, like, whatever it is, a month out, if it's out in that summer, there would have already been at least a teaser. There would have been a poster.
Yeah,
you probably have a pretty good gist of the plot. So whether it's they drop the second trailer, I guess maybe there's like a final trailer you drop just before it. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you do?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, what do you do?
You just roll out Gosling and whoever else is in this. What is this? What is this movie, Tom? What is it?
Yeah, and it's going to be set after Rise of Skywalker, which I like.
Yeah, I think Oscar Isaac is definitely in that movie. I think they just pulled the pin on saying that because he backed out of Celebration at the last minute. He would have been on that stage. I'm sure. It's just sort of like he's the glue, the conduit into that time period, essentially. Like, you kind of need something because it's sort of whether or not I guess if they put a crawl or whatever, maybe not. I guess the other movies haven't needed that, but at least you need that sort of thing for the layperson to go, oh, okay, I get it. It's around then. Okay, now I understand.
Yeah. Yes. I think you need something to give it a sense of time. And yeah, I hope we get a larger view of, okay, what's going on in the galaxy since maybe this is them, cleaning up whatever is left of the First Order.
Well, the First Order didn't really... the First Order were all kind of there. Like, it was that weird Palpatine order that got taken out. Like, they were all still kind of there. So maybe they just got, thanks for taking out the Final Order? Is that
the final order? Yeah.
And really, it's kind of business as usual for us because most of us are still just around. I know there was this kind of thing about like, oh, tell them that you can bring the guns out and kill the other. I have to go back. I don't watch that movie a lot, but it does feel like that threat wasn't really properly dealt with the last time anyway.
I think they implied that a number of planets around the galaxy rose up and were somehow able to take out the First Order in selected places.
Yep. I'd like them to do a little bit of it. It's a good opportunity to sort of clear the air on that and get some established things. Like pick up where we left off, try to figure out what's been going on. I think isn't there a post Rise of Skywalker book that's coming out? It's
coming out in the fall, telling the story of Finn and Janna trying to save some kids who were kidnapped by the First Order.
So that might be a good. That might be sort of. I mean, that might be where they've gone. Hey, all right, we've got to straighten out this timeline. We've got to get all the pieces in place. Let's work out where our characters are. We use this Starfighter movie to establish, to get people hungry for it. We'll drop Poe Dameron in there. We'll probably tease Rey and whoever else, and then we'll roll into the Rey movie, whatever the Rey movie is.
Right, because Kathleen says that's still happening.
Yeah. So
even though they didn't say much about it.
No, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't, but she still said the Taika Waititi one was happening as well too. She's just sort of like, oh yeah, he walks to the beat of his own drum. He's sort of like, that's great. Give me that Rian Johnson one. I'm watching Poker Face at the moment. I'm just like, get Rian Johnson back. I mean, I'm loving the Benoit Blanc, movies and Poker Face and everything, but come back, Ryan.
Yeah, the last one of those is coming out in December, I believe. So after that, he has nothing on his plate.
I only feels the only detriment is it feels like they've actually somewhat crowded the slate. If everything sort of comes out, they're going, okay, we've got a Rey movie, we've got a Starfighter movie, we've got the James Mangold movie, and whatever, the Simon Kinberg, the bloke who made all the terrible X-Men movies. Yeah, I know you're an X-Men guy, but
I'm not a Simon
Kinberg X-Men guy.
So, yeah, I understand Kinberg was instrumental with Rebels, which I absolutely love.
Yep.
But the X-Men Fox, I am not as hot on the last few, and I don't know how much of that was because of Kinberg's production/direction or because of stuff that was going, like Fox knew it was the end, so they wanted to try and just get it out, as many X-Men movies out as possible.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's always stuff that goes on, and I guess we can't judge till we see. But that's a pretty crowded. That's 1, 2, 3, potentially 6 things before you throw a Rian Johnson trilogy.
But most of the crowd is bottlenecked in this one. Well, pre-production.
Yeah.
They need to move things along.
Yeah. I haven't, obviously the Mando and Grogu movie, I think is basically done. It's in the can waiting to come out. And then this Starfighter one has apparently started filming, I think they said. I think they sort of said they were starting. They were starting just post-Celebration, but who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the Rey one was supposed to be shooting by now, but I guess they have another writer working on it because the Peaky Blinders guy didn't work out, which I think is you're not going to hear me say this often, but I think he was a bad choice.
I haven't actually watched Peaky Blinders, so I can't.
It's not. I have no idea what Peaky Blinders is. I think it's a stupid name for a show. And,
I know I know the premise of it, but I haven't watched it. So it's
peace and love to anyone who likes the show, and I'm sure he's a nice guy. But they hired him around the time of the writer's strike, knowing that he would be working on this Peaky Blinders movie about a year after they hired him.
Yeah. So there was a very...
And I think part of their problem with hiring people is that they haven't hired someone and say, okay, now sit down and work on this and nothing but this. Mm-hmm. It's, even with the Rian Johnson trilogy, we're signing it, but he's going to work on it when the time is right.
Yep.
Okay,
I guess
great.
Do you think that's the reputation that... Whether it's a Hollywood thing, which I think it is, I don't think it's an exclusively a Star Wars thing, where it's just like so much stuff can or cannot happen that some people just like, if you want to get people who are talented, they're just like, I can't give you an open-ended thing. You've just got to get me and I'll commit and I'll give you the things in stages, and then when we get to it, we get to it. Or like Rise of Skywalker, which needed it's like, no, it must come out. So they're just like, we've just got to scramble, get JJ back, try and fix this terrible script. No, we're going to throw it out. All right, we're going to rewrite this thing and we're going to shoot it. We're going to get it out. We've got to be, that was like, it had to be done, and it suffered from the thing. And I think they've been burnt by that still. And they're just like, we are not going to take that risk.
And I think at least with Ryan, he did Last Jedi, and then he had, I almost said Poker Face. He had Knives Out on the table. So he had to take care of that. And then Knives Out was a hit, and COVID happened.
Yeah.
And so he got into doing more, not the other Benoit Blanc movies, and
And he got a
Star Wars
crazy
kind of
deal
put a
as well.
pause.
Like Netflix gave him some crazy.
Oh yeah, Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we spoke of this once, that deal happened around COVID as well. And I think given the kind of guy that he is, I think he was like, if I take this deal, everybody who works on this is going to get paid and be guaranteed to be looked after for 3 movies. It's money in the bank. It's all. There's not going to be a weird COVID thing where people are going to lose their jobs and blah. Like it's sort of like a locked in. I can guarantee the security of myself and a bunch of people for the next 5 or 6 years. You know, off the back of COVID, which may or may not. You know, who knows what'll happen after that. So I think it's a good thing to take right now. You know, it's a world that I like to live in. It's less pressure. It's my thing, and I think that. Yeah, because it was like $300 million or something for mystery movies, you know, like.
Yeah.
And I think it was just like, everybody I've worked with who I can look after, they'll all get paid, they'll all get looked after.
Which, you know, good for him, but Lucasfilm needs to say to not just him, but some of these other creators, okay, we are putting this on the calendar, not in a Rise of Skywalker way, where it has to be out by this day, but we want to start production by this, because I think the fans are just getting restless and wanting more. And by fans, I mean me.
And you're the same as me. We came from the dark days of there's no Star Wars. Well, being Star Wars was done. Okay, actually, there's new Star Wars movies coming out. Now it's done again. There's no more Star Wars movies coming out. Oh no, Star Wars is back, and now you're gonna get Star Wars yearly. You know, we got 3 or 4 movies a year for a little while. Force Awakens, Rogue One, Last Jedi.
5 movies in 5 years.
Did Solo come out before Rise of Skywalker or after? It did.
Before, yeah.
So Solo, Rise of Skywalker. So we got all of those movies within probably a 5-year block. And then we got TV shows, and then we got everything else. So they fed us they got the big chum bucket, Tom, and they filled it up, and they said, "Eat piggies."
And now I'm like, back in the days of going looking for the West
it's the
End
same as Weezer, mate.
tab.
It was like you got the Blue Album in Pinkerton, and then nothing happened for about 7-10. People were like, "Well, they're obviously done." And then all of a sudden, the albums kept coming, and then you've just got to like keep consuming.
Right. The things you love make you wait for them.
Yeah, and we haven't had to wait that. I know the movies are different, but we did just get an amazing TV show. Quite recently,
and the books are excellent. Comics are pretty good. Video games are good. I don't really have much to complain about, but I do want Star Wars movies in the theater.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, because it'll for me, like, my kids are big enough now too, so they weren't big enough for Force Awakens. Like, Oliver's born when Force Awakens pretty much came out, and Sloane's only 6, so she's missed. I mean, maybe one of them. I think Rise of Skywalker's come out, but she was only a baby. So as far as like this will be like, we can go. Like, we'll get. I will take you to go see Star Wars at the cinema with the kids. Which is always like the dream that you have when you have kids and stuff. And I'm sure you've done the same. And it won't be the midnight probably the first time, but it'll be. We'll do a family outing and we'll go along and do stuff. Like, I'm even looking forward to taking them to see Superman, because that's something that I like. I'm like,
well, so do you guys still have the midnight releases?
The last one was Rise of Skywalker. We did do midnight for that. I can't think of a movie that's come out since where they've gone, hey, we're doing midnight screening for it.
Since The Force Awakens, all of ours have come out at like 6:00 the night before.
Oh, right. No.
So the opening day is the Friday, but ours have come out at 6 the night. Star Wars, Marvel, pretty much everything.
No, we've always... And I think it's a Thursday movies come out in Australia first day. So it was always like the Wednesday night, midnight, 12:01.
Okay.
Rise of Skywalker was definitely midnight. We did that down at Knox with Star Walking Fan Club, which we'd done the previous ones, and some of those when Steele was in the country, he did like the late night sort of wrap up. He wasn't here for Rise of Skywalker though, so we just sort of talked into a microphone solemnly to 2 in the morning. But no, but I honestly can't think of I mean, maybe I'm just not aware of it, but I get emails for the cinemas locally that I go to. You know, when you buy tickets, you're on a mailing list, and they go, hey, you know, whatever, Formula One with Brad Pitt's coming out soon. Get your tickets, bring your dad, kind of stuff. But I can't think of anything that's come out where they're going, oh, we're doing midnight. Like I can't think of a Marvel thing. I don't think any of the Avengers stuff. Maybe Endgame. When was Endgame? 2018?
2019, the year before, or 6 months before Rise of Skywalker. So that, actually, I have a question. I don't mean it. I'm sorry.
No, hit me.
Continue what you're saying. I have okay, because this is an opposite end of the world thing here. For the longest times growing up for us, Star Wars movies came out in May.
Mm-hmm.
Winter for you, the very beginning of summer for us, and then the Disney movies, with the exception of Solo, they changed it to Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
Winter for us, summer for you. Yep. What do you like better?
Oh, the Christmas one's great. Because it's the end of the year. Because Australia, that's our Christmas holidays. School is finishing, or nearly about to finish, depending on the dates. My birthday is around that time. It's summer as well. So you've got hot evenings. You know, those Force Awakens, Last Jedi ones, and Steele did the screening thing. We would be at the pub before the thing drinking beer, and it would be, you're outside, you're in a t-shirt. It's a real social thing. I just don't think when Solo came out in the middle of the year, I mean, I know Solo didn't capture the hearts and minds at the time much anyway, but it didn't feel as special. There's something special it felt like being around at Christmas time. And it will be, I mean, when it comes out, when Mando and Grogu comes out next year, I suppose it will be in the middle of our winter. It will be sort of cold. I mean, I'll have to check the dates. Maybe it'll fall into a school holiday, maybe, but I don't even think that's the case. If they do May, like we've just come out of May and it's just regular term. Like it's not like it's school holidays.
Right.
School holidays isn't till July here. So, I mean, back in the day, they used to. I'm pretty sure Phantom Menace came out a few weeks later. Maybe it was to coincide with school holidays. That was just the way it was. We always got stuff later. And then when the internet came out, they couldn't do it anymore. And we actually ended up being ahead slightly by a few days in a lot of cases. But yeah, I much preferred and you could just sort of roll on and, go on. You're on holiday.
Right. Yeah, I'll see a Star Wars movie any time of year it comes out, but I feel like it adds so much to the Christmas/winter season. Days are shorter and there's just so much pressure around Christmas, especially if you have a big family. And it's nice to have Star Wars as an escape for that.
Yeah. I'm surprised
to just add on to the season.
I'm surprised that I mean, I know that they've got to stuff Avatar in, and that's kind of thrown it for a loop a little bit. And I think there's another Avatar this year. But, I mean, given that it's only a year apart, the Mando Groovy and the Starfighter one, it seems like that Grogu movie's been in the can for a while. Like, it's sitting on a shelf ready to go. Yeah. I sort of thought, well, you could bring it out at Christmas time. It's kind of ready to go, but for whatever reason, it'll be interesting because if it kind of stalls, they might go, actually, we're going to flip it around the other way, but who knows?
Maybe. It'll be interesting to see how they make it feel like a movie event and not, like you said earlier, just season 4 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. It's like, does it just feel like you're going to see this Sex and the City movie? Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just the thing of the TV show. Although I guess that movie did make a lot of money. I think that first one anyway. Or like, I don't know, the Entourage movie or the... yeah, I suppose. It is still Star Wars. It's just got to have enough little break around it and yeah, I think it'll be fine. It'll do fine. I want it to do... Okay. I want these to succeed, Tom, because then you get more of it. You don't want these things to fail.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. And then all of a sudden they're begging Mark Hamill to come out of retirement. They're like, come on, Mark. People didn't go for
guys,
it.
I will.
He might be in it. It could have just been like, this is the last thing that I'm going to do. All right, I'll do one more. Like, get me down there. I'll stand in the thing and put some darts on my face, and I'll do it. I've been working on my Hamill, and
that's a really good Hamill.
I was actually Nathan Hamill. We follow each other on Twitter, and because he was going on about the Switch coming out. So I was messaging him back and forth about the new Switch the other day. I don't think he'd appreciate me impersonating his dad if he ever saw that. But
did you get one? Are you getting one?
Sitting on my front porch right now, Tom, because I saw a mailman drop it off. So I can see my front porch through my windows in my office, and it's sitting on the front porch right now. So when we were recording, whatever it was, half an hour ago, a guy came in, he dropped a box, and I wasn't going to get one, and I was saying no, I'll wait, I won't bother, and then I just got suckered in like
my son's birthday is at the end of the month, and I was going to pre-order one, and I went on Costco's website this morning, and they were sold out.
Yep.
And so at lunchtime, my wife and I ended up going to Costco, the store. It's like one of those big warehouse stores.
Yeah. We got them here. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. And because we go grocery shopping there just for other stuff during lunch sometimes, and they had a thing of them at the front. And I got the last one.
Oh, you had to beat an old lady. You had to rip it out of the arms of somebody else.
It was a bunch of, so there were a bunch of kids. They were like there, and then one of them ran to go get the mother.
Yep.
And I had it,
and the mother came back. She saw it. She's like, "Thank you." She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, mate. Like that tall man over there took the last one. There's nothing we can do."
But I had to. You had to buy it there. You couldn't go, you couldn't put it in your cart, go around the store, and then buy it. You had to take it from that little stand to the checkout.
Oh, really? So you can just walk around with it, like dibs on it or something.
I think it's more they wanted to, because they have those cardboard cutout things that they hand you, and then you take it to the.
Oh yeah.
You pay for it, and then you take it to the service desk, and then they give you the merchandise. And I think it's more they wanted to make sure that you weren't taking one and then dropping it off somewhere in the store, or you weren't going to change your mind.
Oh yeah,
I think they had them, and they wanted to make sure.
Yeah. No, I just did it online. I just did it online. Like, they've been somewhat tricky to get, but you can get them. Like, they've seen that they've got a lot of stock, and it's funny because I saw some people going, oh yeah, well, there seems to be a bit of stock lying around, blah, blah, blah. I think you're just thinking back to COVID when they only made like 10 PlayStations and nobody could get a PlayStation. Like, I think Nintendo are usually pretty organized. They're like, yeah, we'll just make millions of these so that people can get them, as opposed to having 4 of them where people can't get them. So yeah, it's sitting on it's like I said, it's sitting on my front porch today. So it'll I'll crack it open. I haven't told the kids yet. I'll be number one dad for the weekend for a bit, which would be good. Like, yeah, totally. I bought it for the kids. But I did that. But Tom, it's always a pleasure when you come on, mate. And the cool thing is that we've got this celebration LA to look forward to, where there's a good chance everyone's going to be there. We're going to be, I don't know, like. Well, you reckon Raj? You speak to Raj. Is he planning to do another Raj blowout? Is that?
I've heard it's in the. I've heard there's talk.
Is it too far from? Because we were on that bus for a while. Like, is it? I don't know the geography. Like,
it's
because Anaheim is further. Would he do it at his house again, or do you think he'll work something? The wheels are probably turning, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, I think ideas are being formed. It's still.
It could be a lot of people, though,
just under
depending
2 years.
on how wide you throw that net, I suppose. But
right,
I guess the good thing is if you do it at just a venue, it doesn't really matter who turns up, as opposed to being like, well, I can only have so many people at my house thing. But
right.
I did. It was a lovely evening that last little sort of that thing last time. So. Man, so we've got that to look forward to. We've got a lot of Star Wars in between. Is there anything else you want to plug, or you want to, listen to the Sith list?
I'm on the Sith list that comes out every Thursday, I believe. It's a lot of fun. Just somewhere between 3 and 6 people every week, just talking about stuff they did.
It's always funny when I listen. I'm like, I wonder who's going to be in this week and stuff. And there's been once or twice where I think there's been like 2 of you, and I was kind of going, I don't think I can usually make the times when you record anyway, but every now and then I'm kind of like, if I'd known, I probably might have been able to rearrange something and help you out. But they seem to, it's good to have a big roster, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we've had some people start new jobs in different hours and things like that. But yeah, I'm going to tell Raj we need to have you on.
Yeah, we'll plug it. I'll make it happen. With enough headway, I can always come in. Preferably when you don't have a full deck. If you've got 6 of you already and you bring someone in, you get 2 words and you're like, well, it was nice to say hello at the start.
Yeah.
At the end. Awesome. Well, listen to the Sith list, everybody. Blue Harvest, you pop up on Blue Harvest every week. I always look forward to your questions.
Yeah, he's Hawes, great. Hawes and Willer, great listen. So
the best to do it. Anything else, mate? That's the lot. We done here.
Sometimes you can hear me on the Steel Wars Patreon shows.
Oh, yes.
Another great podcast. So
we're just plugging podcasts now. Just go listen to your friends' podcasts. Yes. We're all still out there. We're all still making good content. We're all happy to chat. We're do all of that. So awesome. All right. Thank you so much, buddy. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Josh. Enjoy the Switch.
Will do. You too. See you later. Bye.
See ya.